I genuinely wonder about this. Social media would convince you that there is a huge percentage of people who care about politics and sports, and I mean going on in mixed together. Like I saw Major League Baseball, there's a headline on ESPN.com yesterday, Major League Baseball working to figure out what its statement on social justice issues are going to be for Thursday when they start playing baseball again. And I'm sitting back, and maybe I'm just totally out of touch. But I tend to think based on the numbers that the Outkick website produce and based on the numbers that this radio show produces, which are dwarfing the growth rate of any other sports program in the country, that most people are where I am. They don't really care about any of the athletes' political statements. They are just excited for sports to be back. And I think that's where you are as well, Jason Whitlock. And I wonder how much, as you just kind of teed up a little bit at the end of the first hour, how much of a mess these leagues are potentially walking into by following the canary in a coal mine bad idea that is coming from social media that is convincing them that way more people care than actually care.
Listen, I think that when the television producers lose control of the television product, and it's turned over to the athletes are now the producers, and they're negotiating what's going to be in the actual television show, because that's what's going on here. And it's, again, LeBron James, he's more than an athlete. He's a television and a movie exec, and all these players now want to be that. And so they're dictating to these leagues, hop in this political bed with us. We're gonna add into the script this whole political plot line. And we've all seen television shows go down tracks like, well, this doesn't make sense. What are they doing? It's like, remember the second season of True Detective?
Yes.
That's what we're about to see in professional sports. You're taking successful 70-year running television shows, and we're going to do something we've never done before. We're going to put politics front and center and make it all a part of our script. And I think it's going to be a disaster. I'm going to tell you the thing that happened this weekend that was fascinating. And I only heard about it over social media because I don't watch a lot of television other than, but the John Lewis, the congressman, 80-year-old civil rights activist that turned to politics, he died, and ESPN did stories about John Lewis dying. And someone asked me over social media, over Twitter, like, so now whenever a prominent politician dies, it's now content for ESPN and these sports television networks. They have to comment on whatever politician. Because, John Lewis, as far as I know, doesn't have some strong connection to the sports world. He wasn't some crazy diehard fan of some team. He certainly wasn't a part of ownership of any team. I don't know his connection to the sports world other than he was a black civil rights leader, and boom, now we have to talk about John Lewis' death on ESPN. Everybody has overdosed on the politics thing. They tried to resist it, but the players, in conjunction with social media and Twitter in particular, have convinced these leagues and some of these TV executives that, going hardcore down this political lane is the right thing to do. We're going to see, this is going to be True Detective 2.0 Season 2 we're about to witness.
It's an interesting point on the political universe. Jamel Hill, I don't know if you saw this, and I feel even ridiculous having to bring her up, but she tweeted, you probably know what I'm going to read, if you vote for Donald Trump, you are a racist. You have no wiggle room. ESPN brought Jemele Hill back as the producer of a Colin Kaepernick documentary. The New York Times did a profile on racism at ESPN, and they cited Jemele Hill as one of the primary sources of that story. Remember, initially ESPN decided that they didn't want to be related to her after she tweeted that Donald Trump was a white supremacist. Now she has taken the step beyond that, right? She has moved beyond Donald Trump as a white supremacist to now any person in the entire country who votes for him is a racist. Your thoughts, Jason Whitlock?
I want to be careful and respectful, but I have to be honest and just say Jemele Hill is a simple person, and I don't say that with much respect, because if that's the substance of your argument, your political argument, that the opponent I don't like and anybody that supports him, I'm going to make this broad generalization about roughly 40 to 50% of America, that you're all racist because you support this guy. It's just a simple-minded thought. It's a Twitter thought. And I know that it was popular over Twitter, 80, 100,000 likes and, retweets out the yin-yang. I get it. And this is what social media and Twitter have done to America. It's dumbed everything down, that kind of thought is celebrated and encouraged. And it's why we're in this really unhealthy state here in America, because that kind of conversation and those kind of broad-based generalizations and demonizing of people is celebrated over social media and rewarded. Because what you're talking about is the rewards for that. Initially, ESPN went away from that. Now they're back to rewarding it. Other media outlets rewarding it. She's building a brand off of demonizing people in these big, broad terms, and it's just dangerous. It is what she's doing is very racist, to be quite honest. As a black person, that's what I've tried to avoid. I don't want to be generalized about. I don't want broad negative generalizations to be pervasive about black people. That's racist. There are people that support Joe Biden who have bigotry in their heart. There are people that support Donald Trump who have bigotry in their heart. But there are people that support both of these guys for a wide variety of reasons that go well beyond their positions on race. And anybody with a modicum of understanding of just human nature and just human interaction knows that. But we live in this world of click hate, and can I say something that inspires hatred and emotion? And she's done it, and trended Sunday all over everywhere from doing it. It's comical to me. These people that love to demonize Trump love to behave just how they accuse Trump of behaving. It's a sad time we're living in.
What do you think says about sports media? Because I do think this is an interesting point. If you had ever said, and I don't mean you specifically, I mean you in the larger sense, same people out there listening to me too, if you vote for Barack Obama, you are a racist, plain and simple, right?
Yep.
You would almost immediately get fired, and you wouldn't have been able, right? You wouldn't have been able to certainly get a job working at a bunch of different companies, right? So I'm looking at her tweet right now, and the tweet is, if you vote for Donald Trump, you are a racist. You have no wiggle room. If somebody 4 years ago, or I guess 8 years ago, whatever, 2012, when Obama was running against Mitt Romney, if a white person tweets out, if you vote for Barack Obama, you are a racist. You have no wiggle room. that person is probably unable to be employed anywhere in the world of sports, period. And you can say, well, Obama has different beliefs and a different value system than Trump and everything else. And I'm not trying to get into the specifics of their platforms, just that one of those statements would be 100% not allowed and not permitted to be said. And the other one is lionized on social media and through Twitter. Why is that? Leaving aside, because some people are going to say, well, because Barack Obama is, like the different. I'm saying leaving aside the politicians themselves, because the demonization or the lionization, in other words, the you are a saint or you are a sinner aspect of political speech is not going anywhere, right? Trump is obviously a lightning rod, but he's either going to win or lose in 2020. And in 2024, he is not going to be the nominee. But allegations like the one Jamel Hill made will probably be made against whoever the Republican nominee is in 2024, unless maybe it's a black person, right? I mean, maybe then it becomes a hard argument to make. I think it's, like you said, not a very intelligent comment to make now, but it's wildly popular on Twitter. And this is part of the larger context, I think, of just the importance of First Amendment free speech and debate, being able to be treated similarly, even if you make a similarly dumb comment, right? And yet we don't have that.
Well, the reason why it's easy to separate Trump from her statement is because she's not talking about Trump. She's talking about anybody that votes for him.
Anybody who votes for anybody who, like, half the country is racist if they vote for Donald Trump, and including, to be fair, millions of black people, right? Because millions of black people are going to vote for Donald Trump. Millions of Hispanic people are going to vote for Donald Trump. Millions of Asian people probably are going to vote for Donald Trump. Right? They may not be the majority, right? But there are many people, like when Joe Biden said, if you vote for, if you ain't for Biden, you ain't black, or whatever he said, then it was, a bit of a substantial flashpoint for a lot of people, because it was like, you are directly attacking my race based on who I vote for president, and you're not a political person in terms of voting. But I think for you, the idea that you would be classified with a large group of people based solely on the color of your skin feels like the essence of racism.
It certainly is, and just clearly, if she believes what she's saying, she just lives in a bubble where she's not engaging with a wide enough group of people to understand there are a large percentage of Trump supporters who just, quite frankly, race isn't a critical issue for them, and there's a bunch of them that don't have a remote problem with black people or Latino people. There are some white voters that will vote for Trump who are married to black people, have half black kids. And again, you have to, and this is the problem with journalists whose journalism only extends as far as their laptop and social media will take them, because this is what's been lost in journalism, the actual engagement with people. And this is, last week when the Bari Weiss stepped aside at the New York Times and said Twitter's in control of the New York Times, and basically she's saying Twitter's in control of the media, and this has been my complaint about the media for 5-7 years, is we've reduced it to our Twitter engagement rather than actually going out and dealing with people. They used to call it boots on the ground journalism, and, going out and actually dealing with people is the best way to learn what's really moving people. And so, to some degree, maybe Jamel Hill's this simple, or maybe she's crazy like a fox and just understands this is what she has to do to be relevant and survive away from that daily ESPN platform. And so maybe it's just a hustle, and this is just how she stays relevant, no different than, from a Reverend Al Sharpton or whatever, or whoever else has race baited over there, or David Duke, who's race baited on the white side or whatever. Again, she's operating like a bigot while trying to call other people bigoted. It's just crazy.
We're talking with Jason Whitlock at Whitlock Jason on Twitter. I want to dive into a couple of other different issues here, but I got you distracted a little bit, and I got everybody distracted by responding to that particular response and that question. But going back to the initial question we had, my contention would be that a solid 70% of American sports fans want to sit down on their couch, open a proverbial beer. It might be a Coke or a Pepsi or whatever if you're not a drinker. Put your feet up, get some nachos, and watch a game at the end of the day. Even more so now than ever before because of the coronavirus, because of the election. I feel like that's why people are watching Netflix in record numbers. People want to escape even more than usual. Do you buy into that, Jason Whitlock, that there's only about 30% of people at most who really want politics with their sports, and even that might be high? But then
that's way too high.
Yeah, what percentage do you think it is?
1%. I'm not even joking, because take what you're seeing. One of the reasons Jemele Hill at some point said that she didn't feel like talking about sports. This is when she was still at ESPN, because of what was going on in this country. And that to me is like, that's when she just like raised her hand and was like, I'm not really a sports fan. I'm here, it's a job. I kind of used to like sports, but not anymore, not really. And that's what the NFL, Major League Baseball, NBA, and everybody else is going to have to understand. These loud people foisting politics into sports, they're not sports fans. You're never going to please them. If the NFL required its players to play the game on a knee the entire game in protest of oppression in America, that wouldn't satisfy that group of people that you're trying to satisfy. They can't be satisfied because they're not sports fans. They want chaos. They want anarchy. They want to please whoever's cutting them the check for the promotion of this anarchy and chaos and racial tension. But are they true sports fans? Absolutely not. Have they been led to believe, well, if we put some of this in, we're going to replace the hardcore sports fans that leave, we're going to replace them with a new sports fan? I'm just sorry. If you go look at the people at the forefront of this Antifa Black Lives Matter protest with the purple hair and all the other stuff, those aren't sports fans, and they're not going to convert to sports fans. I'm just sorry. I don't want to, and here I am generalizing, but I'm just sorry. They're not sports fans, and you're never going to please them. And so it doesn't matter what you do. Roger, if all the fans renounce their white privilege during the national anthem, that group of people is not going to be satisfied. It'll be on to something else and some other way, because their real agenda isn't trying to enjoy sports. It's trying to promote socialism and then communism in America. Running around trying to please that group and ignoring the base of people that have made you wealthy beyond your wildest dreams is one of the dumbest things we've ever seen in the history of business. But, hey, we've seen businesses, very successful businesses, make mistakes and crash and burn. And you know, these sports leagues need to be really careful. I can't wait to see how this NBA thing plays out with Black Lives Matter painted on the court. And look, I'm sure it's going to be successful in China, and maybe they'll get a huge contract from China. But the TV ratings here in America, I just can't imagine them not suffering greatly.